Gonzaga and North Carolina, the keys for the Zags.
Well, I think Heidfeld, obviously, is very, very much a key. He's kind of like Batista was last year, not as well known, coming off 2 years of injuries and sickness, but he is a great player. And Ravio, along the lines of great Gonzaga guards down through the years, those two guys have to play real big. If they do, then the Zags have a shot.
Well, you talked about Ravio. He is a huge key, not just what he does offensively, but, Coach, when you play against North Carolina, having played against Roy Williams when he was at Kansas in the Big 12, you have to contain their penetration. Their initial push is very, very impressive, but it's an initial push, that primary break, whether it's off a missed shot, off a turnover, or even off a made basket when they go into their Carolina secondary break. You have to get back, you have to wall up that lane, you can't allow the ball to be thrown from the point guard right inside of Tyler Hansbrough, and then you have to defend out from there. Transition defense is the #1 key anytime you take on Roy Williams.
And so many players. They have so many players, Carolina.
Working in the old with the new, some surprising freshmen last year for Carolina. Tar Heels and Zags coming up. ACC team Boston College with 30 seconds left, down by 9 to Providence. We'll let you know when it goes final. But right now, we're ready for the Tar Heels and the Zags and Brett Musburger.
All right, Reese, we welcome you to Dick's Sporting Goods NIT season tip-off, our second semifinal. Gonzaga and North Carolina. The Tar Heels ranked #2 and the Bulldogs ranked #23. And Steve Lavin, what do we expect from these two outstanding teams here tonight?
Well, #1, both teams want to get up and down the floor. They play with their hair on fire, Mach 5. Let's get started, off to the races. Gonzaga wants to play at a little more of a measured pace, but don't kid yourself. They like to score in the 80s as well, but they'll have to be selective at times. The key for North Carolina is Tyler Hansbrough, the most dominant post player in the country, in a handful of players there. Maybe Glenn Big Baby Davis, a couple other players, but Hansbrough is relentless. And on the flip side, Josh Heidfeld. Gonzaga coaching staff, Brent, feels he has the chance to be the best big man in Gonzaga history. A talented player with a lot of versatility for a player his size. Can shoot from long range, put it on the deck, play with his back to the basket. The edge North Carolina has is they are so deep. They go 10, 11 deep, and the quality of that depth is remarkable. That's why I believe North Carolina, one of the favorites to cut down the nets in Atlanta.
There are your starting lineups tonight for Gonzaga, North Carolina. And let's check in now with Stacey Dale. Stacey?
Thanks, Brent. You know, a big key in this game for Gonzaga and all season will be the play of big man Josh Heidfeld. And while this team is more balanced this year after the loss of 48 points with Adam Morrison and J.P. Batista, he will have accepted the baton and accepted it rightfully so. After last year's loss to UCLA in the NCAA tournament, it was Adam Morrison that called Heidfeld over and said, hey, listen, it was a privilege to play with you. No other player but Heidfeld. It was a privilege to play with you. He loved his work ethic, and that work ethic has translated into a better job on the low block already this season. And we know, Steve Lavin, that he has an incredible stroke for a big man.
He does have excellent technique, Stacey, no doubt about it. And that stretches defenses, opens up the spacing for Gonzaga's draw and kick game, and just creates matchup problems when you have a player of his size with the versatility of skills, a unique package.
Jim Berg is our lead official here tonight. He'll work alongside Ed Corbett and Michael Stevens. Jim, of course, a long-time veteran, worked many a Final Four, tosses it up, underway, and Carolina, wearing its whites tonight, controls the opening tap. And the freshman, the left-hander, puts him up by 2 right away.
Brandon Wright, one of the top prospects in the country when it comes to post players, and playing with a lot of poise for a freshman early in the season for the Tar Heels.
And here's our first foul, and it is against Carolina. Roy Williams' 4th season as the Tar Heels head coach. Beat Illinois in a dramatic final to win that national championship. You can see the weave by Gonzaga. No longer a Cinderella. This is a solid 20-ranked top 25 program almost every year.
Well, that debate is over. There's no question, Brent. They're putting up numbers. Matter of fact, Mark Few has gotten off to the best start of any coach in the history of basketball. Think of the staggering numbers in his 8th year. Right behind him on his heels is Roy Williams. Only 2 percentage points behind it. 80% winning clip.
Overall, Mark has been 18 years at Gonzaga, both as an assistant and now the head coach. Head man, as Steve pointed out, for the last 8 years, they have turned it over. That was Altidore Cespedes.
Hansborough showing at his size the quick feet, moving his feet, taking the charge.
Let me correct myself. That was Jeremy Pargo, the sophomore you saw the tight shot of. Carolina with the lead and the basketball now. The winner to meet Butler in the final on Friday night, and Wright is pushed on the inside. Sean Mallon.
You see early here a real effort, a concerted focus by North Carolina to get the ball down low. Not forcing, but probing into the post. Playing inside out, establishing a low post presence.
Fraser, the point guard, comes up on top. The 3 ball on the money by Wayne Ellington, one of the many talented freshmen. So the 2 freshmen put the Tar Heels up 5-0, and Ellington, he's as smooth as the Duke was. He almost picked that one off and cruised. He almost took the A train on that one, folks.
This North Carolina team, very long, quick, athletic. They get into passing lanes. They contest shots well. And again, the depth. They're fresh. They go 10 deep.
Maneuvering, misfiring, and Tyler Hansbrough with his first rebound.
Tar Heels do a nice job of getting set up in their early offense.
Ellington pops out, misfires the 3. Gonzaga trying to press it. Misfiring, good Tar Heel defense. Up and down we go.
Heitfeld should have gathered that, gone strong to the basket. Fraser.
8 unanswered. Knocked out of bounds by Wright.
Tar Heels so explosive, so many weapons, the combinations that Roy Williams has at his disposal really give this team an edge.
Missing again, and here's Fraser to Terry. In underneath, Wright again. 10-0, 10 unanswered, timeout. The Tar Heels making an early statement here in the Garden. We welcome you back to Feast Week, and right now the Tar Heels are feasting on the break.
Well, 5-0 in transition. Nice look by Rayshon Terry inside to the freshman Brandon Wright. And that's another example of exploring, whether it's in the break or the half court, looking for easy opportunity baskets, the sign of a well-coached team.
Mallon comes inside on Hansbrough and couldn't finish. And pulling that rebound down was Altidore Cespedes, fouled.
Talking about well-coached teams, in my opinion, there is no doubt the next wave of Hall of Famers in college basketball is Roy Williams. Not a question of if, just when he will go in the Hall of Fame. You look at what he did at Kansas, the national championship at North Carolina, winning 80% of his games throughout his career.
Here's Pargo. Loose. Hansbrough up with it. Here they come again. Off Wright's hands and out of bounds over to Gonzaga.
Coach Williams animated on the sidelines, not happy with that decision in transition.
Wes Miller checking in for Coach Williams. Up by 10. And also we see Danny Green, a sophomore. Steve pointed out the Tar Heels so deep. Gonzaga, meanwhile, Ravio and the guys just looking for a little bit of offense down here. Have been able to finish. Wide open look, rattled out and into Wright's hands. Wraparound passes off Hansbrough. Pargo cut off by Fraser. Great pass and a finish that time by Josh Hart. What a wonderful pass that was. Altidore Cespedes. In low and right, alley-oop dunk. Oh my.
Oh, classic North Carolina playbook there. The lob over the top. Little back screen action.
This is the first time that I have seen Wright in person. Folks, what an upside he's got. Can he ever run the floor?
He plays the game with such ease, too. He doesn't have to force. Appears effortless. When you look at the stat sheet, big numbers. The game just comes easy to him. Very smooth, polished player for a freshman.
Foul called against Carolina. So we're going to take a break. In the early going, freshman Wright and the Tar Heels have stunned the Zags. But there's a lot of time left. Tonight's game broadcast in high definition and presented by Olivia. Well, this may be one of the finest freshman classes ever as you go back through the years. Take you back to 1982 when a freshman by the name of Michael Jordan in New Orleans hit a title-winning shot against Georgetown. 1986, we were down in Dallas. It was Purvis Ellison leading Louisville over Duke to a national championship. And in 92, you can forget the Fab Five becoming a force. And then a few years ago, it was Carmelo Anthony leading Syracuse to its first national title. But this class with Big Greg Oak, Kevin Durant, Ohio State and Texas, and what we're looking at here tonight with the freshmen putting up about a 9 of the Heels' first dozen. This could wind up being the best overall freshman class in the country.
You know, looking back through NCAA history, also Toby Bailey in '95 came up big in the Bruins championship, and Mike Bibby in '97. 2 Pac-10 national titles where freshmen played an integral part of the win. And this North Carolina team has some remarkable freshmen.
Another freshman, Alex Stevenson, dug out that rebound for Carolina, handling the ball right now.
Deion Thompson's got a nice body. And remember, these players are going to get in better condition. When you play at a breakneck pace, as Roy Williams chooses to play at, you have no choice.
Wow, jump hook. Alex Stevenson after a rebound at the other end. He's out of Los Angeles. As you know, the Tar Heels have never really committed to heavily recruiting California until Roy Williams moved there from Kansas.
He had so much success.
Wide open. Very good pass. And that was Matt Bolden, speaking of freshman for Gonzaga, who whipped it on the inside. He's number 15 out of Highlands Ranch, Colorado.
Gonzaga staff very high on Matt Bolden. They like his vision, his court sense, his savvy, his feel for the game.
Might be the best freshman out of Colorado since one, well, Chauncey Billups. We'll have to wait and see on that one.
Bolden has great vision, comfortable with the bounce. Reminds the Gonzaga staff a little bit of Blake Stepp, who's also 6'5" and tremendous floor leader.
Muscling inside. Cuso scoring for Gonzaga.
Good response coming back from that timeout. Mark Few's charges have put the ball down low, looking for better high percentage interior shots.
Digging that rebound out was Deion Thompson. He too is from California, Torrance, California. (14-6) and Roy Williams continues to hit the bench. Wright, Hansborough back on the floor, along with Rayshon Terry, the veteran, number 3.
Gonzaga in his own defense. Going to have to change up their defenses, try and keep North Carolina off balance. Boy, nice refeed of the post.
And the entry to Wright.
Little 2-man game between Miller and Wright. And wasn't there the first time. He didn't force. He kicked it out, reestablished post position using the hips. Easy deuce. Love to see the big man get low like that, like a sumo wrestler, understanding leverage in the post. So critical to success down low.
Brandon Wright, perfect from the field, 4 for 4 tonight. A little bit of an awkward free throw motion with that left hand.
That's the only flaw we've seen in his game. Just a little bit of an odd release. Lefties are not unorthodox anyway. Tougher to defend because they're unorthodox. Boy,
Another feed by Bolden into the inside, and finishing is Kuso.
Boy, he's putting on a clinic with the pick and rolls.
Rattles out, and the Zags will come back now. And Bolden, this youngster from Colorado, he's a terrific passer, the coaching staff told us.
He makes it so look so easy coming off those pick and rolls, but like a surgeon just picking apart the Tar Heels.
And when you look at the hairdo, you immediately think of Adam Morris, the bushy hair, you know.
Yeah, something in the Northwest. The Northwest in general.
It's the water. It's the water.
Dan Dickow, Luke Rittenauer, Luke Jackson, Adam Morrison. A bunch of those guys. The old Monkeys, the Beatles hairstyle. Jack Black.
It didn't catch on in Southern California. We can tell that.
Not with the coaches anyway.
Yeah, for sure.
Maybe the surfers.
In low, another great pass. Tap back. No, he's got to stay with it. And he does. So Kuso, the 6'9 junior, came out of Tallahassee Junior College, has made a big contribution with 3 field goals here.
Early adjustments by Mark Few. Nice counters out of that timeout. Little zone defense. Gone inside, tough
And
shot.
one.
Terry off the glass, takes the hit, contact, and still finishes. A chance for the old-fashioned three-point play, but I like Gonzaga's adjustments. As we watch Terry, little low crossover down by the shoelaces, gathers, draws the foul from Bolden, and gets the nice carom and steps to the foul line.
Tar Heels by Altador Cespedes.
Coming up empty on the foul line. Nowhere to go.
Goes down. Tar Heels looking for another turnover. Got it. Coming out now. Ty Lawson up the floor to Tyler Hansbrough, and it is blocked. Heitfeld with a tremendous block on Tyler Hansbrough.
It's so tough to come from behind like that and just pin it. That is a tough angle. Didn't make body contact, but clearly did get all ball.
I thought he might have knocked it back out of bounds, but the official had a much closer look than I did and gave the ball to the Zags. They trail it by 8, 18-10.
Pressure defense by Carolina. See Gonzaga space the floor. They have to use some back cuts, some pressure releases. Now and coming up Ginger there in the post.
To the back, and Heitfeld rushed it. Had an open look. Forced it over the outside. Knocked out of bounds. And it will be Carolina basketball as we take a break. 11:31 here in the opening quarter. The Tar Heels 18, Gonzaga 10. The second of our 2 semi.
ESPN2's exclusive presentation of the Dick's Sporting Goods NIT season tip-off is brought to you by Dick's Sporting Goods. Remember, every season starts at Dick's. And in part by Nissan, who invites you to shift the way you move through the world. And Wendy's. Get in the middle of flavor. Do Wendy's new Double Melt and do what tastes right.
So the winner of this second semifinal will play Butler on Friday night in the championship game. It's 18-10. The Tar Heels lead it. And of course there will be a preliminary game at 4:30. Tennessee, a loser earlier tonight, will play the loser of this game. Then it will be Butler against the winner. And that's for the title. The Tar Heels break Roy Williams' huddle and head back out onto the floor. Gonzaga put up 10 points against Williams' defense, all in the paint, Coach.
Well, they did a nice job offensively of beginning to look for higher percentage plays, going through the post. They did it both through pick and rolls and just traditional post feeds. His zone defense trying to keep Carolina out of rhythm.
In and out on the 3-ball and over the top. Ellington misfiring. So the Zags can cut into the margin again.
This Gonzaga team doesn't have an Adam Morrison in terms of someone is going to consistently put up 25, 30, 35 points a night. But they have the opportunity to become a very cohesive, well-knit team and to have balance. Heitfeld will have to become that go-to player, and to this point he has been that. But they do have balance as a team, interchangeable parts, a lot of perimeter players.
Ravio checking back in. Stripped. Hansbrough running the floor, is going to take it to the rim. Fouled on the shot.
Here's that versatility, Brent, as we see the steal by the Tar Heels, and Hansbrough really comfortable pushing the ball in transition. As rugged of a player as he is, with the broad shoulders, the remarkable strength, he also has the dexterity and agility of a perimeter player. Just an unusual package.
Quentin Thomas, another California youngster. He's from Oakland, checks in for the Tar Heels. Hansbrough makes it 19-10 on that second free throw. Hansbrough still trying to find his rhythm here tonight in this game. Bolden slipped on the cut, but finishing is Heitfeld.
Pargo with the nice give up along the baseline.
Terry's pull-up up over the freshman. Ravio quickly to the attack. Bolden with a beautiful drive.
Quick first step, very efficient with his footwork.
Terry's rejected by Heitfeld. Back comes Pargo again. And fouled on the play. Take a look at Bolden's move. He's showing us something as a freshman, isn't he?
Well, just deceptive speed, footwork, a little ball fake, and just glides in for the easy deuce off the glass.
Boy, some of these freshmen, they play a lot older than they are, don't they?
They played on the national spotlight under the bright lights. They've traveled throughout the country, played on national TV. Before they ever hit campus as a freshman, they're playing 80 to 100 games a year with their AAU basketball teams as well as their high school teams.
Pargo knocks it down.
It's really a good point, Brent. There are less and less of the bright-eyed, bushy-tailed freshmen. They hit campus with a swagger and confidence and belief they're going to have success.
Heitfeld, very active big man for Gonzaga. Off the right miss. They could cut into this margin even again. Ravio coming around the top now. He's going to try to get to the rim. Here's Green. Hansbrough is fouled by Mallon.
Carolina reversing the ball, and you see Hansbrough showing a big target, both hands up.
Stacey, there's a lot of talent here on this Tar Heel team.
Yeah, there really is, Brent. You know, I asked Roy Williams today if it's been challenging trying to find out the identity and the roles of his players with so much youth, talent, and playing so many bodies, but he told me no. He said he's always been comfortable playing about 9 to 10 guys. But then I asked him about the point guard leadership. I said, what's it like when you change the rhythm and have Bobby Frazier playing, then you bring Lawson in? And he likes that he can go with an experienced point guard and Bobby Frazier and then incorporate the freshman Ty Lawson in for a change of speed. Although he did say, guys, that with these younger players, as Hansbrough shoots the first free throw in, and with these younger players, it really does take them just a little bit longer because they have to realize they're not as good as everybody else out there.
Exactly. Into Ravio's hands off that missed free throw. 6-point lead. Pargo kisses it off the glass, and it is down to 4.
Nice mid-range pull-up by Pargo. Good choice. So often you see players put their head down, try and burrow or force the action and make a tougher play than necessary.
Ginyard's on the floor now. Wright muscling in with a miss into Heitfeld's hands. I guess, you know, Coach, I do have a question about this Carolina team. Is it possible to have too much talent? Now, I know that sounds really weird, but I'm looking at an awful lot of players coming off that bench.
It's a good problem to have. Dean Smith had that problem for years. John Wooden had that problem for years. Rick Pitino at Kentucky. You're not going to lose too much sleep as a coach if you have too many good players, but if you don't have enough good players, you lose lots of sleep.
So let me put it this way. With so many of them freshmen right now, Roy is probably trying to define which five he wants to finish with. That would be my observation.
Absolutely. At this stage of the season, you're looking for combinations. That's what's so great about these preseason tournaments. You play a lot of games in a short period of time. We see Thompson down low try and muscle one up and draw the foul. But over the period of the season, when you have a great teacher like Roy Williams is at North Carolina, they'll find ways. They'll make the adjustments. He's done it many different ways. He adjusts to his personality as an overall system, a sound philosophy and approach, but there's subtle changes that you can make as a head coach to bring out the best in that particular team, both individually and collectively, and no one's as good as Roy Williams at doing that.
Pendergraft, David Pendergraft checks in for the Zags. And it's 24-18, margin 6.
Gonzaga trying to rotate Mallon and Pendergraft and Heitfeld to keep fresh bodies down low, in particular when going up against Hansborough. Try and wear him down collectively as a team.
Raivio, the point guard, has not had an easy time of it here tonight. Handling right now.
A big size advantage for the Tar Heels.
And they're keeping size on him, too. Shot clock now. Down inside of 5-3. Pargo's got to force it against the clock. Heels come right back after the miss. Thompson.
It's like volleyball on the backboards for the Tar Heels. You put a shot up. Sometimes the best offensive opportunity comes off a missed shot when you've got the size advantage and depth as the Tar Heels have.
Terry, the veteran, misfires, and Heitfeld pulls it down, and there's a foul against the Heels. We'll take a break. 7:09 to go. Carolina 24, Gonzaga 18. The second of our two semifinals. The winner will meet Butler for the title.
Welcome to ESPN2's Feast Week, presented by Lowe's.
North Carolina leading 24-18. We've talked about all the youngsters. We asked Roy Williams about this young Carolina team.
11 freshmen and sophomores is what we have. Our veterans, most of them are sophomores, you know, the 4 that played so many minutes last year. We do try to go a little slower. We don't have the things in right now at this stage that I normally would have in if we were a more experienced team. But that youthful exuberance, I'm hoping that'll make up for some of it.
15 of their 24 points scored by freshmen here tonight. So the diaper dandies. And they figure to grow up a lot between now and next March. North Carolina, the ACC, leading Gonzaga 24-19. Heitfeld, smooth looking hombre down low, Coach.
Done a nice job defensively, affecting the game at both ends here. A couple block shots, some rebounds, controlling the basket area. Full court press, the zone press back into their zone defense. Just giving North Carolina different looks.
Keeping it at the perimeter. Offensive rebound by Tyler Hansbrough coming back.
Tough shot over 2 Zaga defenders.
So they have moved Ginyard over on Raivio, keeping size on the Gonzaga point guard. Bolden kicks to him. Knocks down the 3 ball.
Well, textbook, draw and kick. Penetrating the lane, draw the defense. Once it collapses, kick it back out to Ravio. Easy 3-point shot.
This is a very well-coached Gonzaga team, Steve. You're absolutely right.
Well, watch Bolden here with this penetration action. He's going to spot the open man right there. Ravio, nothing but net.
This Bolden looks to pass. He's a beauty now. Didn't get the roll into the hands of Brandon Wright. The heels come right back. Fraser up, firing in and out, and into Bolden's hands. Headman, Ravio, in low. Can't finish. Ravio fade, no. Tap, good. Heidfeld.
That takes some hand-eye coordination. He controlled that ball with one hand off a rebound and was able to guide it back in. That was a special play.
That's 8 points, and down away on the offensive foul. It's a turnover. It'll go to Gonzaga. A chance for the Zags to take the lead.
Heidfeld made this look easy. Look at the control and able to touch it, put it right off the glass.
8 points and 4 rebounds for Heidfeld. And he has also, remember that block he threw up at Hansbrough a little bit earlier. Here's Heidfeld for the lead. That is their first lead of the night. Number 42, Josh Heidfeld, 6'11", a sophomore from Washington. They are right back. The Tar Heels regain it.
We talked about the relentless pace both these teams are comfortable playing at. Heidfeld feeling it.
Whoa. Right in front of the Tar Heel bench, makes it 29-28.
Let the big Bulldog eat. Got to feed the hot hand. The Zags wisely going back to the big fella, letting him go to work. You see that more often in the pros than you do in college. Soft
Rattles
touch.
in for Wright. Brandon Wright, 6'9", from Nashville, Tennessee. That's 10.
He has a soft touch. Brandon Wright, tremendous prospect.
Bolden's open, knocks down the big one, 32-30. It's a 2-point lead.
Great back screen by Bolden. Stepped out. Screeners often get open. Smart players understand if they set screens, they help get themselves open for good looks. And Heidfeld just says, load me up, let me go to work. Bolden with the floppy hairdo knocks it down. Timeout.
I'm Reese Davis. Coming up at halftime, no longer just a suspect. Everybody knows the Butler did it again. We'll show you how they pulled off their latest upset of Tennessee. The Maui final underway between Georgia Tech and UCLA. Get you up to date on that. And an upset in the ACC again, guys.
And Steve, of Mark Few's family.
Yep, Marcy Few and some future Bulldogs there. They do a tremendous job in the Coaches vs. Cancer fundraiser they have up in Spokane every year. They have raised so much money for a great cause. They bring in people from throughout the country. They have a golf tournament, a big auction.
Surprised he doesn't have a fly fishing tournament. That's his real passion. He slips over into Montana and hits the Bitterroot at least once a year. 32-30 here. Gonzaga leading Carolina. Terrific comeback by the Zags in the second semi. Bolden, the freshman, on the line.
Gonzaga starting to get their rhythm offensively, starting to run some nice half-court sets, back cutting, the overplays, and really all started when Bolden was substituted into the game. They went on their run. Things tend to flow when Bolden's in the game. He's a WD-40 guy, helps everyone else elevate their game because of his vision, his understanding, his recognition.
It's remarkable that they lose a Morrison hairdo to the NBA. And up pops a Bolden.
Another mop top.
It's unbelievable. You know, when Batista and Morrison moved on, I think everyone in the basketball community thought that the Zags would drop off. But here tonight, this is a fine-looking basketball team.
Well, their coaching staff talked about they have the potential to be a very cohesive, well-knit team at both ends of the floor. They like their versatility, a lot of interchangeable parts, players that can play multiple positions.
White couldn't finish. Rivio brings it down. Tar Heels jumped out by 10 in the first 2.5 minutes. Bolden turned it over that time. 3 minutes to go here in the first half. It was late in the first half when Butler came back on Tennessee, and that sparked their win in the first semifinal. Wright misfiring. He had his first 4 shots tonight. Here comes Bolden. Rivio is on the line. Checked out, it goes the other way. And Feast Week presented by Lowe's. 11 Eastern. Florida and Kansas coming to you. The Las Vegas International. Saturday, huge day in college sports. Of course, Notre Dame and USC playing football over at the Coliseum. There's the 3-ball delivered by Ty Lawson. Deadlocks it at 33 with 2:29 to go here in the first half.
Seen a little dribble weave similar to what Butler ran in the first game of this doubleheader.
Pargo runs it in.
Kind of lull you to sleep with that weave like a hypnotist. And then blow by Pargo for the easy deuce.
Missing. Terry snaps an offensive rebound down, and it goes against Carolina.
Off a little dribble weave action. Pargo gets the ball, isolates, and just a little crossover, exhibits a left and comes back with the right hand, but puts it on the deck, goes strong to his left. A little versatility.
Hitting the last 5. (35-33). Gonzaga overcoming an early 10-point deficit here. And rallying just like Butler did, Coach. Wide open. Rivio, 3-ball. 38-33. Gonzaga's biggest lead. Minute and a half to go. Carolina ball.
Poor decision there by Lawson. Once Gonzaga gets back and sets their half-court defense, that's an example. As Lawson goes through the season, he'll learn he needs to set up the Tar Heel offense. You don't have an advantage, bring it out. Make sure you get a good look at the basket. This is a small lineup by Gonzaga. 4 guards around Heitfeld. Stretches the defense.
Terry missing and into Altidore Cespedes' hands.
4-guard offense. Look at this. Pargo and Ravio and Cespedes. Nice inside look. They got great spacing.
7 in a row from the field for the Zags here.
I like the adjustment. 4 guards around Heitfeld. All 4 are capable of making shots in the perimeter. All 4 can handle, pass, catch, make decisions. Stretch that Tar Heel defense out and give more space down low for Heitfeld to work.
Right, there's the foul against Gonzaga. You know, Steve, I know it's real early, but I think this is the first time I've ever watched, certainly covered, a Carolina game in which Tyler Hansbrough disappears. I mean, it was like a magician out here. When you think back of the Hansbrough half right now, took only 2 shots, 1 of 2, only 2 of 5 from the free throw line, sitting on the bench right now with 4 points here in the first half. Now, I know we expect a completely different half coming up from Hansbrough, who is one of those early candidates for Player of the Year in college basketball. He was superb, one of the hardest workers we've ever seen in the game. Right now the Tar Heels are closing out the first half with him on the bench.
Well, you know, he is a sophomore, and he plays like Superman or Tarzan or Godzilla at different times and dominates the college game. But at the end of it, this is still early in his sophomore year, and there's still a learning curve. There's still a growth process going on.
Livio misfiring. Here come the Heels. They're going to try to hit a driving layup, and Ty Lawson gets to the rim. Now the final 24 seconds, and the lead is at 3.
We'll see one shot on this possession with the 4 guards around Heitfeld. Wouldn't be surprised there's a high pick and roll in a late clock situation. And Bolden should have the ball in his hands for the last shot, but it looks like going to get a little 2-man game pick and roll with Pargo and Bolden.
Tough fadeaway rattled out at the buzzer. Gonzaga overcomes a 10-point deficit. A 13-point turnaround as they finish 40-27. Mark Few is with Stacy. Let's go to Stacy.
Coach, what was the key to finding your offensive rhythm after the slow start?
Just slowing down and getting rid of the MSG nerves a little bit, and just dealing with playing Carolina. They present a lot of adversity with their defensive pressure and offensive pressure both.
What are your impressions of Heitfeld's play in the first half?
Well, once we got him out that first time out and kind of woke him up, he really came alive. He can do that, and so hopefully he'll have another second half like he finished that one.
And lastly, what's your message for your team at the half?
Well, we got to make sure we got to run. We want to run, but then we got to take a good shot. And we don't have that. Then we got to set up our half-court sets and try to get a good one.
Okay, thanks, Coach. Back to you, Brent.
Josh Heitfeld leads the way. He's the 6'11 sophomore from Clarkston, Washington. As Gonzaga turns it completely around, and they lead it at the half. Right now, let's go to our studio, and here's Reese Davis. Reese.
All right, Brent, the Zags rallying from a disastrous first 5 minutes in which they scored 2 of the first 16 points in the game, but now they have a 3-point lead. At the break, Tom Brennan, Doug Gottlieb alongside. Probably one of those better shots Mark Few would like to see, a little bit better than Derek Ravio took late. But Gonzaga not only settling down, but maybe substitutions for both sides playing a role?
Yeah, I mean, I think we kind of talked about this before the game. Carolina seemed to have complete control. Obviously, the 10-0 lead kind of overwhelmed Gonzaga early on in the game. Then they went to their bench, took Frazier out, tried to get some of the younger players in off the bench, and Gonzaga countered with a smaller lineup. They brought Matt Bolden in, but at times they were playing with 4 guards and Heitfeld in the middle, and that really threw North Carolina, who had more of a traditional 2 bigs, 3 perimeter players on the outside, really threw them off because their matchups were all screwed up, Coach.
And that Bolden kid is good for a freshman. He's a good player. His hair looks like the work of a robin, but other than that, he can really play.
It looks like the work of Dan Dickow. That's what I looked for back when he played at Gonzaga. Well, the winner of this game tonight will get Butler. Perhaps surprisingly, Butler in Tennessee in the earlier semifinal in Madison Square Garden. Brandon Crone from the baseline. As part of a 12-2 Butler run, they also fell behind early. And A.J. Graves, who had 20 against Notre Dame, 20 against Indiana, 15 in this one, and Willie Beasley in the open floor follows his own here, Tom.
Never got shook. I really impressed with Butler. They belonged. They played like they belonged. They kept the tempo where they wanted it to be. And obviously, Tennessee only made 3 field goals in the second half. That seals your doom.
Julian Bentko, the 3 there, and Butler by a dozen.
Yeah, Butler by a dozen. Neutral site against a team that is probably the 4th best team, maybe 5th best team in the SEC. This is a bracket buster game, and we're in the first couple of weeks of the season.
44 points, and Volunteers have been averaging 87 coming into this, and tempo played perfectly for Todd Licklider's team. In Maui, a cat fight that turned out that only one set of cats carried their claws to the second half. And then the championship game, UCLA and Georgia Tech. Will get you up to date.
ESPN2's exclusive presentation of the Dick's Sporting Goods NIT Season Tip-Off. Brought to you by Lowe's. This year, there's no place like Lowe's for the holidays. Lowe's, let's build something together. And Mercedes-Benz, located on the web at MBUSA.com.
Gonzaga and North Carolina at the break. Josh Heifeld got hot late in the first half. 14 points for Gonzaga's big man. Zags up by 3 on the second-ranked Tar Heels at the break. Championship game in Maui. Georgia Tech and UCLA. Aaron Aflalo, Doug.
Well, Aaron Aflalo is a solid scorer. Coach has him pegged as what, the #1 two guard in the country?
Yes, sir. I think he's the best two guard in the country.
And you know this guy must beat butter because he's Michael
Oh,
Roll.
that's just terrible.
The
Orange County
paraphrase.
product. Orange County product, though.
You think somebody would say that?
Yeah.
And Crittenden working inside. Embarrassing youngster, freshman from Atlanta, stepping out, knocking down the three. 18-16, UCLA has the lead. Now, corrected the score, 18-15. Close game anyway. It's on ESPN.
No lead is close for Georgia Tech. Trailed by 7 late in the first half against Purdue. Came back one. Trail against Memphis. They're a very deep team. Heat, humidity of Maui. Let's see what happens in the second half.
UCLA 7 for 11. That's a good start for them.
You know, sometimes you do see the cramping issues over there as well, trying to stay hydrated. Memphis and Kentucky, third-place game in Maui. Willie Kemp.
Look at the balance. Stepping into a jump shot. Almost an instant replay saying penetrate and pitch. Memphis' offense fits their personnel perfectly.
And I think when they get the ball inside to Dozier and Dorsey, they're a much better team. You see here a big slam dunk. And anytime Dorsey and Dozier are involved, it makes them a better basketball team.
That was Dorsey with a half dozen on the night. Shot 59% in the second half, won it by 17. Charlotte and Syracuse. Syracuse trying to go to 5-0 under 2 minutes to go. Paul Harris. If you don't know Paul Harris, be a good idea to get to know him. Josh Wright will finish.
They call him Do-It-All Paul. Okay? All you have to do is watch the highlights. And you're like, huh, well, that's why they call it Do-It-All Paul. He blocks shots, he rebounds, he dribbles, he passes, he finishes. And he is Do-It-All Paul.
17 points, 9 rebounds for Harris, 79-67. Syracuse takes down Bobby Lutz's team. And Georgetown got a fight from Fairfield for a while. 73-60. The Hoyas move to 3-1. Boston College against Providence. Used to be a Big East battle, and now Big East versus ACC, and things not really going well for BC. Jared Dudley hits the shot there. Dudley hits another one, but Providence had the 2-point lead, and Providence able to take care of business.
I think the Eagles fall prey to that Vermont hangover.
Yeah, it's a Vermont hangover. Everybody knows you lose to Vermont.
It just knocks you out
Whereas
for a while.
Providence loses to Brown. Easy to bounce back from that.
73-64, the Friars knock off the Eagles. Back with more after this.
You know the rivalry. You know the stakes. To stay in national title contention. And for one player, the Heisman race. Notre Dame, USC. Their tradition continues on ABC Primetime this Saturday night.
Gary Matthews Jr. has agreed to a 5-year, $50 million contract with the Angels. It's halftime of a basketball game. Wanted to show that vertical on the wall.
In case you haven't heard, Gary Matthews Jr. can catch the baseball.
Easy. And patrol the outfield for the Anaheim Angels. And speaking of guys who can get up a little bit, Brandon Wright. The stuff with Carolina down by 3 at the break.
ESPN2's exclusive presentation of the Dick's Sporting Goods NIT season tip-off. Brought to you by Lowe's. This year, there's no place like Lowe's for the holidays. Lowe's, let's build something together. And Lincoln, reach higher.
Gonzaga, the West Coast Conference, leads powerful North Carolina, the ACC, but this should not be a surprise, folks. Gonzaga is a remarkable 7-1 through the years against the ACC, and they've got 3 games. They're coming back here to the Garden to play Duke a little bit later in this season. But it has been the story. A couple of big guys. Heitfeld has been outstanding for the Zags.
Yeah, Heitfeld putting all of his skills and abilities on display. We're seeing him be able to shoot the ball from distance. Also inside with the putback, little jump hook down low. a catch and face out on the perimeter, taking his defender away from the basket, and a power move, showing the ability to take the hit and still finish. He's been outstanding, as has Matt Bolden.
And meanwhile, Stacey, what about Tyler Hansbrough? He has only 4 points in this game.
Well, Brent, Roy Williams is not a happy camper. He said he was most concerned with what you just said. Tyler Hansbrough didn't get enough touches in the first half, but for the first time ever, Tyler Hansbrough didn't want those touches. He didn't work enough for those touches. They have to change that in the second half to make this a different ball game. And also, he said Gonzaga outperformed us in every facet of the game. They out-rebounded us 24-18. That's unacceptable, and they got on the floor for every loose ball. Roy Williams wants to see a different Carolina team in the second half, guys.
Here's your first half stats. Both shooting over 40, but Gonzaga at 47%, 3 of 6 from three-point range, and Carolina 3 of 10 points in the paint. Of course, Gonzaga with a little bit of an edge because of Heitfeld. So here we go now. We start the money half. First possession belonging to the Zags. Deflected out of bounds. 23 up on the shot.
First 5 minutes always an indication of what each coach has instructed their team to come out and execute. Get to see here in these first couple best possessions with Gonzaga, a balanced attack, what they're looking for, and it's over the top to Heitfeld, but ill-advised pass. Tough angle to feed the post from 30 feet straight out.
And it's turned over. They were trying to feed Hansbrough, who was down on the low block on the right side. There you can see the errant pass and on out of bounds.
What happens often at halftime, a coach will, in a demonstrative, animated way, say, get the ball inside. But you have to be careful to not force. You want to look, you want to probe, explore the post, but not force it.
Heitfeld pulls up the J, kisses it off the glass.
What a smooth, polished offensive player Josh Heitfeld is.
He's been a revelation to Gonzaga, hasn't he?
When they said that he could be the best postman in Gonzaga history, they weren't kidding around. That was a statement that they felt confident about. They said Batista's a low down low, but he's got more skills than a Batista, more range. You see here again, just catching, facing up over right, using the glass, kiss off the square. They felt that Turioff was incredible athlete, getting up and down the floor and had a lot of energy, but wasn't as polished offensively.
Turned it over. Third pass by Altidore Cespedes.
But those are some pretty good names. That's good company, and that's why Gonzaga's had a dominant program now, year in, year out. The names change, the players come and go, but the results are the same. Point guards come and go. They continue to get remarkable results.
Ravio on top of Frazier, and there was a foul inside. Checking back in is Cuso, who was very productive in the first half for Gonzaga. He was 4 of 6 from the field. He's back on the floor. Mallon sits. So it didn't take Coach Few long to get Cuso back on. He'd been very productive.
Zone defense really packing it in.
Frazier nails the 3.
That's what you got to do when a defense is packed in. Got to loosen up that defense by making a shot from the perimeter.
Pargo in the lane. 44-40.
Once again, good decision by Pargo at the mid-range to pull up instead of taking it all the way into traffic among the trees. Take that little 5-10 footer when it's available.
Rattles out from right. Heitfeld. Good looking rebound that time. Took it out of the air. Ravio nails the 3.
Nice behind the ball action. Little penetration by Cespedes. Ravio coming behind for the wide open look.
Fouled. Right, trying to come up with that left hand of his. Doesn't seem too happy right now, does he, folks? Trailing Gonzaga by 7. We've already had one upset tonight. Butler rallying against Tennessee. Here, Carolina once held a 10-0 lead in this game. Here comes the good-looking freshman Bolden back for Gonzaga. Matt Bolden, 6'5", freshman guard out of Highlands Ranch, Colorado, Thunder Ridge High. Missing both free throws into Ravio's hands. Bolden doesn't take him long, turned it over this time. Frazier trying to come back. Scoops it in. It's a 5. Pargo off the glass.
Boy, the mid-range is his game tonight. Such ease, able to penetrate at will, get himself high percentage looks. Porous defense by North Carolina. There's Hansborough attacking the rim.
But he missed from the outside, recovered his own miss, attacked, and now he'll move up to the free throw line.
His energy just seems a little bit down tonight, and part of that may be not getting the catches. Part of that is good preparation by Gonzaga staff as we see him earn his way to the foul line. Gonzaga in their zone and man always has two people around Hansborough, fronting and backing, very congested down low. Not many good looks for Hansborough.
(49-44), 16.5 minutes to go.
Carolina trying a little half-court trap, change tempo, get a turnover.
Bolden's 3 is good.
These guards are really looking for each other, sharing the ball tonight. Bolden, Ravio, Cespedes, Pargo.
Hansborough loses a dive. Did they save it out of bounds?
We've seen that over the years. Arizona with Bibby, Simon, Terry, and Dickerson in that '97 run. A couple years ago, the Illini under Bruce Weber with D. Brown, Darren Williams, Luther Head, Roger Powell. Gonzaga could put those kind of teams on the floor around Heitfeld. That is a tough matchup. Green, a smooth player. Quiet game, but a capable contributor.
Gonzaga hasn't missed this half. Finally, Hansborough defensive rebound. Frazier kicks to the corner. The 3 over the top. Gonzaga basketball. So the youngster Bolden, amidst all of these diaper dandies from Carolina, it is number 15 for Gonzaga, who has delivered here tonight in the Garden. Gonzaga leads it, and Carolina star Tyler Hansborough is only 1 of 3 from the floor. And Gonzaga coach Mark Few talked about the defense on Hansborough tonight.
We're going to have to double him a lot. We're going to have to really step up and handle him physically. We can't back down from that. We're going to have to make sure we run the floor, because I know he's going to run every time. And just kind of by committee, see if we can't slow him down a lot. That's going to be a major challenge. And then the fact he's surrounded by, you know, some really, really talented players that are really kind of coming into their own. It'll be a handful.
So far, Gonzaga up to the challenge. Tyler Hansborough has been very, very quiet, but 15.5 minutes remaining. Ravio coming up against the full court pressure. At the free throw line, has a block, gets it back, and nails the jumper. Good recognition that he could pull that down after the block and just nailed it.
I like the fact he jump stopped on the fast break at the foul line as well. Seen that out of Pargo on the half court. We saw that with Ravio in transition. Nothing wrong with the mid-range jumper.
Off the front of the iron into Bolden's hands. Gonzaga trying to start another run. Ravio again. The three is good. It's a 10-point lead.
Well, multiple playmakers that are interchangeable on the floor put such great pressure on the defense, and we're seeing North Carolina just not matching up well with the playmakers of Gonzaga.
Knocked out of bounds. You know, the one thing that Brandon Wright is going to have to recognize is how to play a two-man game with Tyler Hansbrough down deep. When the two big fellows get going. Right now, Brandon looks to me like he's looking for a shot when he's coming up in that lane area.
This is a big game. Gonzaga, elite program in the country, and these freshmen in North Carolina here in the Garden, a little deer in the headlights. It's understandable.
Here comes Bolden. Blocking foul is called. Score it and one.
Well, no better stage than the mecca of college basketball, the Garden, for a star to be born. And we've heard the Gonzaga staff talk with all the superlatives about Matt Bolden and his understanding of the game, and all of it is on display. Change of pace there, a little hesitation move, lowers the shoulder.
That's amazing.
Able to hit the runner off the glass, a little Havlicek style there.
60-47. They started 1 of 10, fell back 10-0. Since then, 22 of 33 they've blazed away. Lead at 60-47. On the turnaround, down low, Dion Thompson. Back at the other end quickly. Heitfeld has not been scoring like he did in the first half, and over the top that time. So ball goes over to Carolina. Try to get it back down to single digits here now. 14:07. Winner plays Butler Friday night. Butler rallied in the opening game against Tennessee.
See if Heitfeld gets a. Let's see if Hansbrough gets a touch on this possession here. There it is. Load the big fella up. Look at the double team. Both Pendergraph and Heitfeld there. They come back to him, reload the post.
Heitfeld slams it out of bounds.
That's his third block of the game.
Remember, he got one beautifully from behind on Hansbrough in the first half, and look at him soar to reject that one.
Hansbrough just seems a little stunned, whether it's his energy or too much adrenaline. They come back to him. I like that fact.
He traveled.
Just out of his game, out of sync.
This is a David Copperfield defense being used by Gonzaga. Just make the superstar disappear, and you got a chance for an upset. Gonzaga against the press, quickly to the pass. Ravio. Look how calm Bolden is for a freshman. Didn't rush things. Heitfeld on the turnaround, didn't get the roll. Knocked out of bounds. Heitfeld so active defensively.
He's everywhere at both ends of the floor. Just an understanding of the game, of basketball IQ. You see it at both ends. Tar Heels are making a concerted effort to load Hansbrough up. He may be a bit winded. Coach Williams going to substitute for him, and see him fighting down low. Not a good angle on the post feed there from above the foul line.
As soon as Hansbrough comes out, Mark Few quickly gets Heitfeld off the floor, sends Kuso back out. So they'll rest Heitfeld, knowing that before this is over, he's going to have to match up with Hansbrough again. There's Heitfeld taking a break. Kuso picking up number 4. So they'll have to yank him right back out.
Mark Few's done a nice job of rotating the post players. Pendergraph, Kuso, Mallon, Heitfeld, getting some sneaky minutes in there, buying a little bit of time, using all his bodies, keeping him fresh. It's extra fouls to use.
Gonzaga basketball. In underneath. Pendergraph whips it back out to Ravio. Oh, yes, again. 63-49. 17 for the point guard.
I'll tell you what, life after Adam Morrison for Gonzaga looks pretty good this year, Brent. This is a dangerous team, really playing well together. Look!
Bolden splits the D, and it's 65-49.
Bolden just putting on a show.
Forget the kennel, the whole town of Spokane's barking tonight. This is unbelievable what they did here. Trailing 10-0.
Is it Jack and Dan's Tavern? You think they're
There you go, baby.
tossing back a couple root beers up there?
Like to be joining them the way this is going a little bit later, huh?
Throwing peanuts around that place like confetti up there, Jack and Dan's. Well, I'm not sure I've seen a more complete player in the freshman class than Matt Bolden. This is my first opportunity to see him live. I talked to the Gonzaga staff about him, but he is very special.
65-49. Zags leading the Tar Heels here.
There's that zone defense again by the Zags, packing it in, almost begging North Carolina to shoot from the perimeter.
And on the move, the foul against Gonzaga. So we'll take a break, but worth one more look. Watch Bolden. Split it. And that little soft touch on the runner. Zags lead it 65-49. Can they hold on? We'll find out. A 9-point underdog leading Carolina by 16, Steve. Remarkable performance here.
Well, look at what Tyler Hansborough has faced all game long defensively. Just blanketed like bees on honey, swarming in the post. Look at the 3 Gonzaga defenders right there digging at the ball. Is Bolden right there slapping at it. The double team, no free looks. He has to kick the ball back out. He works his way across the lane, finally gets a catch, but here comes Heitfeld and just swats that ball back out. A tough night for Hansborough because of the effective defense of Gonzaga.
And he's back on Roy Williams' bench. Thomas is on the floor for the Tar Heels. Brandon Wright, freshman, on the free throw line. Marcus Ginyard back out there.
I think North Carolina a little stunned, and that happens when you're younger, and of course they're so dependent on a Hansborough. They're going to have to find that second or third player capable of stepping up. On the flip side, look at Gonzaga, more balance. Heitfeld's contributed, Pargo's contributed, obviously Bolden has been a remarkable spark, and they're playing with the confidence, a swagger. Look at their body language. Just sense North Carolina on the turnover there unnecessarily by Pendergraft, but North Carolina just struggling a little bit, a little uptight.
Now Altidore Cespedes. Turning it over. Gonzaga up 15, 11.5 minutes. Winner moves to the final Friday night against Butler. Fraser. Not a good shot. Gonzaga basketball.
Boy, that defense is just packed in. You can collapse a zone as Gonzaga is tight to protect the basket area. You can also extend it against a team that shoots better. Effective defense employed by the Zags.
Bolden gets rid of it.
Good patience, good ball movement, deep into the possession.
Rybio off balance on the drive.
Not the shot you want after using 26 seconds of clock.
On the free throw line is right again. So Butler has already advanced into the final. Got the bounce that time.
You know, on that last possession that allowed Wright to get to the foul line, North Carolina did a nice job of hitting Deon Thompson in the short corner in the baseline area, and then they dropped Wright when the double team came down low, and that's what allowed him to get into this situation. They may have to do that some with Hansborough, have him catch and face against double teams quicker and make a faster decision.
Now the Zags up by 14, 10.5 minutes to go. Here's Bolden over the top. Carolina basketball. You can see some of these stunned looks over here on the Carolina bench. If you weren't with us, they reeled off a 10-0 lead to start this game. So it's been 65-41 since then. And now Carolina trying to mount a charge with Tyler Hansborough on the bench. They've cut it to 11, and Coach Few says, I think we'll talk about it this time. Hey, Steve?
Wise timeout by Mark Few.
So the Zags surround their leader, 65-54. 10 minutes left in regulation in the guide. Here in Madison Square Garden, the #2 team in the nation, North Carolina, in a heap of trouble on Feast Week, 65-54. You can see the #1 team on ESPN2 Saturday at 11 Eastern out in the Las Vegas Invitational. Part of Feast Week presented by Lowe's, a big one matching the defending national champion Florida Gators against the Kansas Jayhawks.
Kansas, another young team with lots of talent, but knocked off by a mid-major program in Oral Roberts.
Tyler Hansborough's back on the floor for Carolina here. Inside of 10 minutes, Steve. 65-54. So still plenty of time now for the Heels to mount a push.
See the great spacing, high and wide, giving their playmakers room to operate and make decisions. Back cutting over pressure, overplays.
Bolden and Hansborough's defense turns him away. 9.5 now. Ginyard on the floor for the Heels. Wright with a tough shot, but Ginyard, Marcus Ginyard, sophomore from Alexandria, Virginia, to the rim. Got it back to single digits. 9-12, 7-0 Carolina run. No basket. So it's Hansborough. You can watch right here, trying to get through the pick, and he picks up #3.
Might have been a crafty move by Bolden there, picking that foul up. A little Laurence Olivier, a little Academy Award move. Again, a crafty freshman in Matt Bolden. Sometimes acting is a critical part of being a good basketball player. People don't realize that, whether it's shot fakes or drawing a charge.
Heitfeld steps out and drains a 3. What 19 for Heitfeld here, Steve.
A little luxury to have a big man that can step away from the basket as Wright forces one inside. Poor post spacing there, trying to pass in a closet, too congested, just no daylight. Zags, blue jerseys everywhere in the Garden here, just swarming Carolina in the basket area.
And they get it right back. As Bobby Frazier sits down. Miller on the floor for Roy Williams. Wes Miller, senior guard from Charlotte. 68-56. Gonzaga leading it with 8:20 to go here. Butler awaits the winner. Heitfeld, not this time, and Hansborough in underneath. Lawson cut off. Ginyard, no. Underneath though, strong rebound by Wright, and one.
Well, the second shot, the stick back or the putback, so critical when you are struggling. You have to find a way to generate points. The dirty work down low. Bring the brass knuckles, get on the glass. Give yourself a chance at a second shot.
Big night. 16 points, 10 rebounds for the freshman. Single digits again. 8 minutes.
Good ball pressure by Miller trying to spark this Tar Heel team. Defensively crawling into Ravio out front.
Turned it over. Carolina on the rebound. Trailing it by 9, but they'll have the ball again with 7:47 to go. 68-59 Gonzaga.
ESPN2's exclusive presentation of the Dick's Sporting Goods NIT season tip-off is brought to you by Dick's Sporting Goods. Remember, every season starts at Dick's. And in part by eBay. Whatever it is, you can get it on eBay.
Strong 4-minute run here by the Tar Heels. 10-3 they've outscored Gonzaga, giving themselves a chance. Trailing 68-59 with 7:47 to go in regulation. And the Heels coming back down again. Here's Lawson handling the ball.
It's a big moment in Lawson's freshman year here as we see him penetrate and get an easy deuce.
Made it 68-61, Coach.
These are great opportunities. Look at the Tar Heel pressure really stepping up. Wes Miller, a senior, has been a spark here defensively.
Ravio forces one into Lawson's hands again. The three, no. And Heitfeld yanks the rebound away with right up over the back of him.
Now that's a nice rebound, Brent. You look at the way he clears the boards, Wes Unseld style. Clears it, sweeps it, the elbows are out, he puts it on his chest, under the chin. That's a sweeping rebound, textbook Wes Unseld type. Heitfeld probably doesn't know who Wes Unseld is, though, does he? Probably thinks he was someone that played with Lincoln or Jefferson. A 5-second call? Nope, timeout.
Timeout. Few had the timeout over there on that side. Talking to Ravio about what he wants done now.
Well, there's been a couple possessions here where Wes Miller got into Ravio, and Ravio kind of bit on the salmon egg. He played right into the hands of North Carolina and forced a couple unnecessary shots early in the shot clock possession when they've had the lead. And you take a couple shots like that that are ill-advised, you could lose your momentum and rhythm and allow your opponent to crawl back into the game. And I'm sure Mark Few and staff have talked to Ravio about that.
Exactly. Yeah, it's fascinating to watch the #2 team struggle like they have here tonight after that opening burst. And Gonzaga, can they put them away? That, of course, is the big question.
Well, what's interesting, we saw it in the NCAA tournament last year with George Mason making the Final Four. How about an NIT championship if Gonzaga holds on between a West Coast Conference team as well as a Horizon League team? And that's indicative of the parity in college basketball and just how competitive it is night in, night out. You could not let up or have a letdown. You'll get knocked off.
The Garden clearly in favor of Carolina. And why not? We're on the East Coast, a long, long way from Spokane. But this has been a spirited performance by Gonzaga. Ravio is blocked by Wright, and then he commits the foul on Lawson.
Well, Ravio, an upperclassman, should know better. That's really 4 consecutive poor decisions, poor plays. Not to come down on the young fella, but again, a forced shot here and then compounding it with the foul.
Gonzaga with 10 team fouls and Carolina with only 3. So Lawson will step up at the free throw line, and that's a huge edge right now coming down the stretch.
Gonzaga's lost that rhythm that they had for a long stretch in the first half and well into the second half. And it's only a result of a couple poor shots and, of course, Carolina capitalizing, and Carolina has stepped up. Look at the bounce in their step, on their toes, aggressive.
Bolden, the freshman, crossed the line, doubled. Pendergraft jumps out.
Bolden at 6'5", able to see over those traps and pass out like a periscope.
Pargo on the drive, left-handed.
That's a tough finish at the rim.
Lawson running the show. Traveled.
Just nothing there, Brent. Over penetrating again, a young player, inexperienced. Pargo with a nice crossover, able to find the gap. Rotation was slow by the Tar Heels on the offside or weak side.
Gonzaga up 7, inside of 6.
Mark Few's taking the ball out of Ravio's hand, has him moving without the ball off the screens now. Had Bolden bring it up one time, Pargo the next. Those are interchangeable parts again. Versatility.
An offensive foul on Heitfeld. Backing down, and Wright, the freshman, with a strong performance down the stretch against Heitfeld. That's the 3rd personal on Heitfeld.
Wow, tough call. Mark Few is not happy. He's given Jim Burr an earful, wanted the explanation on that call.
Lawson running the heels as they come down the stretch toward the 5-minute mark. Miller's also out. He feeds Wright. Wright with a strong move. Can't finish. Bolden.
See if Ravio gets his team organized and shows some senior leadership, shows his experience here.
Blocked by Wright again.
Boy, really surprised with the decision making, the shot selection. You see Mark Few giving Ravio some instruction there, some positive encouragement. Must be surprised. It's one thing to have confidence, but you've got to use the intelligence here. 21 seconds left on the clock. Want to do the things that allowed you to gain the lead, to be in this position, have an opportunity to win against the #2 team in the country. Stay with that style of play.
For Brandon Wright, along with those 2 blocks, 17 points and 11 rebounds.
You know, there's a tendency sometimes, Brent, as Wright knocks down the first, as an upperclassman, as we see Ravio substituted now. Cespedes comes in. Cespedes comes into the ball game. But the upperclassmen sometimes try and carry the team on their shoulders, and they get into an individual type of competition as opposed to staying within the team concept.
Watch how high the arc is on this free throw by the freshman.
Rainmaker.
Rebound Gonzaga. Bolden, the freshman, in a pressure situation. That's a double dribble. He picked his dribble up and put it down again. No question about it. Freshman mistake. Gonzaga, their lead at 6, 4:57, just inside of 5 minutes. Tyler Hansbrough tonight is 1 of 4 from the field.
North Carolina deserves some credit here in terms of disrupting Gonzaga.
And going to track it down, Danny Green and Heitfeld. That's number 4.
Here comes Sean Mallon. You know, Gonzaga may go back to Heitfeld sooner than one might think, because they do have that zone defense in their arsenal.
So they'll take him out right now with the 4 personal, 4:47. Ravio will check back in. And so too will Frazier. '70-66. Pressure by the heels.
Okay, back to that 4-guard lineup, Brent, around Sean Mallon this time, who what I assume will set more screens and do some dirty work, try and get some putbacks down low. A veteran player that brings a lot of toughness. Nice shake.
And Wright comes over for his 3rd block.
Wow. Big-time defensive play by Brandon Wright.
Hansbrough on the follow.
Mallon very gingerly moving on the court.
Pargo and Lawson whistled on the play. It's a 2-point game right now at 4:06.
See the penetration. Ball hangs on the rim. Hansbrough, when it comes off, able to grab it and flush it home. Sometimes you just need something to go your way. An easy basket to pop the cork, allow you to cut loose and feel good about yourself.
Pargo to the rim. A 4-point Gonzaga advantage as that 16-point lead here has disappeared. 3:57 to go. 72-68. And what a block by Brandon Wright, the freshman, with 3 rejections. And at the other end, Tyler Hansbrough. But Gonzaga still leads it in the Garden. Timeout.
Because you just can't get enough on Feast Week. We're going to take you to Alaska. Brandon Worthy, Loyola Marymount, Alaska Anchorage. That's coming up next.
Well, Reese, North Carolina trail by 16 with 12 minutes left in this half. They've been on a 19-7 run. Free throw discrepancy reads this way, as Brandon Wright, with 3 big rejections in this game, has led the way defensively. All clean blocks. Gonzaga has shot only 7 free throws tonight. They're 6 of 7. Carolina is 26 of 33. Here is free throw number 8 for the Zags.
Pargo's had an excellent game across the board. Decision-making, defense. Decision-making in terms of when to pull up for the mid-range, when to finish at the rim.
Frazier off iron. And a pushing foul against Gonzaga. Ravio was on the inside. Coach Few watching. Lead to been trimmed to 5. 3:42 to go, and Wright is back on the free throw line. I guess if you had your choice, if you're Gonzaga, and you had your choice of any Tar Heel player that you would want to put on the free throw line, this probably would be the young man, but he has played very well overall. There's a very kind of high, unorthodox shot at the free throw line.
The odd release doesn't come off the middle 3 fingers. As a result, he doesn't get that feathery touch, that backspin that's necessary. When does Mark Few come back with Josh Heitfeld? That's the big question remaining in the game. At both ends of the floor, Gonzaga vulnerable without Heitfeld in the ball game.
Lead is 4. Heitfeld saddled with 4 personal fouls in Ravio's hands.
Frazier getting into the ball. North Carolina's really picked up their ball pressure, crawled in, become more ball hawking in their defensive presence.
They've lost it. Over and back. Over and back. Carolina ball out of bounds, far side.
Sometimes just being there as a ball hawker will lead to a turnover.
Pendergraft is up. Miller checks in for the Tar Heels. Now it's Heitfeld. He's up. They can't wait any longer. 3:26 to go.
What they can do to hide him is play a little zone defense. Looks like they may come out here in a man-to-man, but with 4 fouls, I'd imagine they'll isolate. Got Mallon matched up with Hansbrough.
In low, Hansbrough traveling again.
Jimmy Burr right there on the baseline in proper position for the call.
Yep.
Took that little extra hop.
Yeah, he did. Pargo handling it, brings it up. Jump pass to the open Pendergraft, who hits the layup. 75-69, just inside of 3.
Another good decision by Pargo. Nice jump stop in the lane, the find to Mallon on the opposite side.
Misfire, long rebound. Lawson is right there, and there's a whistle, and he's turned it over on the offensive foul.
Pargo again, Brent. He is everywhere, affecting the game with his decision making, his defense. Look at here, giving ground. Again, the freshman Lawson just forcing things a bit.
Good move by Pargo as soon as he felt the contact and a little slide step, and down he went. He knew how to convince him with that move.
Yeah, a couple Academy Awards tonight, a couple Oscars to be handed out. There's nothing wrong with that. It's part of the game.
It's a 6-point Gonzaga lead now. We're at 2.5-minute mark.
Right back
Other
at you.
side. Now they draw one on Pargo, and it goes back to the heels.
Tit for tat. Pargo, once you lower that shoulder, if the defender is giving ground, you allow the official to make that call.
All I can say, folks, this feels like March in November. This has been a big-time contest with a lot of storylines, and the #2 team in the nation trying to pull it out, and a lot of big names saddled with 4 fouls, as you could see on that graphic. Fraser, Pendergraft almost got it. Lawson whips it inside, and Wright finishes for the Heels. 75-71, down now to 2:10.
Good presence of mind by Lawson to keep his head up, find Wright along the baseline.
Rivio, yes. Tough shot, makes it 77-71. Inside at 2. Lawson back at you. Gets it back.
Little circus shot, dipsy-do. Gonzaga that time slow, lollygagging in transition. Ravio was due, Brent. That's the senior there. A tough shot. Confidence. Finish. And in transition.
Steve, as we look at the early, that was Lawson coming right back together. And as we think about the early part of the season, you know, we've had some upsets. Kansas went down and everything, but think about what has surprised you the most. What of all the things have gone on? You say, wow, how'd that happen?
I think the number of mid-major teams, November, nutty November. We always see it in March, but we're seeing it earlier in the season here with the Northern Arizona beating Arizona State, Butler knocking off Indiana, Notre Dame, and tonight, again, another big win against Tennessee. And so I just think Oral Roberts over Kansas at Allen Fieldhouse. We're seeing it not just in tournaments, but even on some of the power conference teams' home court. I think Matt Bolden would be a bit of a surprise to the national audience. Obviously not to the staff, but he has to be one of the top 5 freshmen in America. The way he's playing, the way he affects the game at his position.
77-73. Pargo been a major player for Gonzaga. He'll bring it up. 1:45 now. Time precious. Right out to screen high. Rivio puts it on the ground. Going to try to get to the rim. Traveling, and it goes over to Carolina on the turnover.
Ravio continuing to try and force the issue instead of letting the game come to him. Obviously, there's a time in the possession where someone has to take a shot, but so early, having a 4-point lead, no need to force that opportunity.
The 3 is off iron into Rivio's hands. 1:20 now. Gonzaga will try to keep it in the hands of their good free throw shooters. Roy Williams will decide when he wants to make that move. Coming down toward 1 minute. And Pargo, there is the whistle.
You know, one of the things that's interesting, some good coaching going on the sidelines by Mark Few is, in a sense, Ravio has really made 6 out of 7 poor decisions, but Mark Few has stayed with him because he knows he's going to need him to play well late in the year. He's a senior, he has to stay with.
We got the 1-on-1 now, Steve. We got an important trip to the free throw line right now in this basketball game for Pargo. 77-73. The front end very meaningful here. Rayshon Terry replaces Wright. Roy Williams has to be pleased with Wright's performance overall here tonight. Altidore Cespedes on the floor. From Montreal, Quebec. And Pargo, he's a sophomore out of Chicago. Comes the front end. Got it, a huge free throw.
It's a longtime assistant, Billy Greer, there talking to Ravio on the bench. The right-hand man of Mark Few.
Pargo misses the second one, but he still put it on 5. Now Frazier to the attack inside of a minute. Terry inside, stepped out of bounds. With 50 seconds to go, Gonzaga holds a 5-point lead and the basketball. Williams sets the pressure D. They'll try to get the ball in the hands of Ravio if they can. He cuts, got it. Quickly across the timeline and eating up valuable seconds. There's the whistle.
I want to follow up, Brent, on that point about Ravio. Many coaches would get frustrated when there was a sequence of plays in terms of poor decisions that Ravio had, and they would bench him and maybe lose his confidence, as a result lose him for the year. Impressive that Mark Few, very steady, even keeled. They're still coaching him. They've taken him out. They've talked to him. They've given him instructions, but they're staying with him because he is their senior point guard.
The front end. So the 2 front ends. Ravio makes it a 6-point game. This was big. And suddenly it is 80-73, 38 seconds. Ravio with the 4 fouls will sit right now and not play defense. Nor will Heitfeld. And Gonzaga switches to his own. The 3 rattles in and out. Carolina saves it. Missing again, and Tyler Hansbrough coming over the rebound, and he is fouled.
I'm not sure when the brackets came out for the NIT if anyone would have anticipated, even a clairvoyant master, a WCC Horizon League NIT championship in Madison Square Garden. I know you're pretty good at the handicapping, but I'm not sure you even would have had that one, Brent.
No, I must admit I would not have. And Steve, you mentioned it, so let's remind everybody that the winner of this game will play Butler. That'll be the second game. Start at around 7 o'clock. First one does go at 4:30 Eastern, and that'll be Tennessee against the loser of this game. Feast Week presented by Lowe's. This is Rick's Sporting Goods NIT season tip-off. Madison Square Garden in New York. Raucous crowd in here for the second game. Many of them Tar Heel fans, and folks, they got their money's worth watching this game. This was a very, very good November college basketball game. Tyler Hansbrough has had his hands full against the Zags, and Roy Williams, the very young team, dominated with freshmen and sophomores. Gonzaga closing in on an upset that would send them into the NIT final against Butler. Heitfeld played superbly for Coach Few. And those folks that go regularly to the kennel back in Spokane, they got to be enjoying this. But it's not quite yet over. Sitting on a 6 now. 24-5. We've seen a lot of things happen.
One of the really interesting aspects of this game is first time I've seen all those guards in the game at the same time. Ravio, Cespedes, Bolden, Pargo. And I mentioned it earlier in the broadcast, Brent, but we've seen that in recent years, the trend to go with interchangeable parts, put multiple playmakers on the floor and the pressure that causes. And then when you throw a Heitfeld into that mix who can step away or post up and have all that spacing to operate because of the threat of those four perimeter players' shot.
Man, how good is it to be in Spokane and have a season ticket to watch the Bulldogs? Miss it on a 6 with 19 seconds to go. Looking for that 3-ball. Frazier fires it. Not there. Ravio goes for it. Loose ball. Battle for it. Out of bounds, and it belongs to Gonzaga. Heitfeld checks back in, and the Zags can feel it now with 8 seconds to go and up 6.
Mark Few just keeps winning, Brent. The winningest active coach at over 82% of a clip. The best start in the history of college basketball for a coach in his 8th year. They air it out. They got the bomb to Cespedes. The easy 2 over the top. The fly pattern.
So Gonzaga goes to the final against Butler. 2 upsets in the NIT semifinal. Kind words from Roy Williams. As Gonzaga, the 23-ranked team in the nation coming in, beats the 2nd-ranked North Carolina Tar Heels. (82-74) was our final score. Bolden, the freshman who played so well. Heitfeld. 2 teams shaking hands. Wright, great upside for the Tar Heels. Saw a couple of brilliant freshmen tonight, didn't we, with Wright, Tar Heels, Bolden for Gonzaga. All right, let's go to Stacy.
Coach Few, what did you say to your team when Carolina made that huge surge in the second half?
Well, I just said, hey, why do we waste our time for 25 minutes attacking to sit back on our heels and let them pressure us out of stuff? And finally, we got our guards settled down. I thought Pargo really stepped up and made a couple big hoops that attacked their pressure instead of retreating.
Your defense was impressive, holding Hansbrough to 9 points. What was the key?
Well, we guarded him as a team. We went in trying to guard him as a team. We doubled him hard. And then, I think Josh got in there and blocked a couple shots, and that kind of sent a message that things weren't going to come easy inside.
Coach, this is your best win ever against a ranked opponent. What's the feeling for you?
I didn't realize that. I mean, I'll take those NCAA wins over these. But, no, it's great. It's great to beat a program like Carolina because they are so great. They got a great coaching staff, and they got great players, and they do it the right way. So it means a heck of a lot.
Thanks a lot, Coach. Congratulations. Move over to Josh Heitfeld. Josh, you lose Adam Morris and you lose Batista. What is unique about this year's team?
We're just a really good team. We get along with each other, and we play with our heart. That's how we won this game tonight.
I know you're a modest guy, but why was your performance so profound tonight?
I always play up to a challenge. It's the type of game I like to play, and I just love playing against good people and good teams, and I just showed up tonight and did what I had to do for the team.
What's it say about your team to be competing this early in a championship setting against Butler on Friday?
It says a lot about our teamness. Everyone did everything they had to do tonight, and we just competed well and played like a Zag tonight.
Congratulations. You guys earned this one. We'll send it back to you, Brent.
All right, and Zag Mania rolls along out west in Spokane, Washington. Josh Heitfeld played exactly 133 minutes of college basketball coming into this beauty and he stands up against the powerful Tar Heels of North Carolina. And coming up next now, coverage the Great Alaska Shootout. Loyola Marymount versus Alaska Anchorage. This has been a presentation of ESPN, the worldwide leader in sports. For Steve Lavin and the Stacey Dales, I'm Brett Musburger. So long from Madison Square Garden in New York City. Now let's go to Alaska.